what's going on right now. Moments ago, we've learned from RT, Russia Today, that Israeli defense minister at Israel Katz said they're prepared to attack Iran because they're waiting for some sort of green light from the United States. What does Israel want? What are they capable of? We've seen so far basically the war that we've been witnessing for 40 days. It was basically the United States attacking Iran and Iran responding to the United States. Israel was not that much part of the picture. But your understanding of that?
Well, remove whatever the 50 warheads, nuclear warheads, which they have from Israel's order of battle. They're second-rate at best military power, with some air force, which is provided by the United States. And Vladimir is ready. They are ready only to commit atrocities. As a ground force, they are really, laughing stock. They're good at killing civilians. That's what they are good at. So whatever he means by ready, he means that the Zionists who surround Trump and control him, including his chief of staff, who was the, oh God Lord, the manager of Netanyahu, run. So it's, how to
Susie
say,
Wise.
she was campaign manager for Netanyahu, for crying out loud. We literally have the president of the United States who is controlled by Israel, by Mossad. There you go. They're ready in the sense that they're going to be pressing United States to commit against some kind of the idiotic act of bombing Iran with no effect whatsoever. They might kill against some, leader, part of the leadership of Iran, but it has the basically redundancy in this respect, so new people will come in and just take the place and continue on. And that's it. That's pretty much all those hyperbole, chest thumping. They are good at assassinations. They for some reason consider themselves masters of the intelligence. In reality, they as you know, the 2 Iranian agents have been found now inside Mossad. So I don't know, man. So it's all of it is primarily mythology, all surrounded and exaggerated by Hollywood, and that's their readiness. The only thing they have is those Samson option and those nuclear warheads. That's about it. In reality, they cannot persecute the war with Iran. They don't have staying power. Their society is completely demoralized. It's now hated by the whole world. And United States, inside the United States, there is a dramatic tectonic shift against Israel. So, I don't know. He can say whatever he wants, but they will be pressing Trump, who is essentially Zionist stooge, and they may convince him or basically order him to start this attack again. The thing they want Israelis, because they are not bright people in the sense of military, real military, warfare issues and things like that. They would love nothing more than United States getting bogged down in the quagmire of the ground operation, which actually might not necessarily last that long because United States doesn't have the ability to sustain it. And as long as Netanyahu stays out of the, prison, so they will do that, And again, they essentially have their materials on everybody from Trump to U.S. Congress, and so they will get their way eventually.
I think they were starting calling Donald Trump in Iran a gossip guy, because this guy is so much. Look at this, just what he published, what he reposted, that there are 2 factions in Iran. One of them wants a deal, and one that doesn't. Let's kill, those people who are not agreeing. It's just making things up and basically deciding about these sort of delusional thinking on their part. This guy, you don't see any sort of seriousness in the attitude of the president of the United States. That's hugely problematic, in my opinion, for other leaders.
It's catastrophe. First, it's national humiliation the likes United States never experienced before. They literally have the president first. He's not the president of the United States. He's an Israeli stooge because he is surrounded by the Zionists. And again, let's call it, there's no Christian Zionists. They're not Christians. It's a death cult based on the essentially, pro-Israeli Bible, which is not also heresy. And they are, as some people with Tucker Carlson stated, they are, the Jews wrapped into Christian rhetoric, Talmudic Jews. That's what it is. So, and this is not to say there are many Jews who are decent, hardworking people, American patriots, and so I want to make sure that when we talk about Talmudic Jews, we're talking about the most extreme part of the, Judaism essentially, and those offsprings, derivatives, which we call Christian Zionists. This is what Trump's administration is. It's utterly corrupt and utterly incompetent. It has the same imbecile who is the minister of war, the guy who is with the psychology of the NCO, alcoholic, and So yeah, you look at this is a huge problem. You have the nuclear superpower, second nuclear superpower in the world, and you have the guy who is not himself. I mean, the only hope now is that people. There are some people who can at least control him from doing stupid things, but he is surrounded, as you already stated, by people who control him completely. He doesn't even know what reality is. He lives in this made-up world, and he is under enormous pressure in a sense that evidently we have the guy who is omnipresent in the Epstein files. Make you up your mind whatever you want about this, and yeah, he is just becoming also senile. So we have this catastrophic confluence of the factors, and he is absolutely not fit to run the country.
Based on what we've heard from the Iranian sources since the war started on February 28th, that since the March 10, if I'm not mistaken, they were asking, somehow begging for ceasefire, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And right now with the ceasefire, 2 weeks of ceasefire being, somehow we had the end of two weeks of ceasefire. Then he unilaterally decided to go with indefinite ceasefire while he's trying to make some sort of conflicts close to the Persian Gulf and with these tankers. And the question is, what is happening in the mind of the Trump administration? Who are these people? What do they want? What is the basics? Because with the first round of negotiations, there was no sign of seriousness in the American delegation. Yeah. That's why the Iranian part is so much confused. What is happening in the mind of these people?
Well, that's schizophrenia. And my video to this, which gonna come up after we're done speaking, is called schizophrenia. It's downright political and mental schizophrenia, essentially. And again, keep in mind, you prosecute or conduct your foreign policy based on understanding of your capabilities, understanding of your opponent or ally, what have you. There is no strategy. If you read my latest book, which came out already, essentially 2 years ago, well, more like a year and a half ago, America's Final War, United States doesn't do strategy. They don't understand what strategy is. They come up with all these grandiose plans, having no understanding what kind of the resources you have to match, for those lofty goals and things of this nature. They are not skilled people. Simple as that. We, again, as I already stated, I'm not gaining many friends from saying this, but it has to be said. Suddenly it was revealed America is a paper tiger militarily. It is paper tiger economically, in the sense that it cannot produce even the workable functional weapon system, which actually it can produce in some quantities. And so when you look at that, and especially considering the fact that any foreign policy is there, essentially it's power policy, it is driven by your capability, by your potentials. They don't understand what they're doing. They react. That's the only thing they know. They run to the, because again, it's very important to understand. They look at those idiotic numbers from Wall Street. They think that this is the real economy. And then they run to those Gulfies, for example. Yeah, they think that, oh, because we sold you some number of that equipment which doesn't work properly, in the real combat conditions, and because you have so much money, you somehow have to represent some kind of the force which can arrange. When look at Dubai, Dubai is gone, it's over. Look at all those Gulfies. They are not just paper tigers; they are nobodies. They are absolutely zeros, if not negative numbers. And that's what United States, viewed the world outside, thinking that, oh, look at us, we drive Rolls Royces. Because of that, we are cool. No, you have to understand that the world, it operates on a completely different plane. It works differently. You need to have all kinds of things which are material also, which are tangible. You can touch them. You can develop from them some kind of the, policies, what have you. They don't understand what strategy is. As I already stated, it's a Wall Street virtual world. And as the result, when you look at what they're trying to arrange, what they're trying to do with whatever they have, they suddenly recognize we don't have resources, we don't have military capability, we don't have any essentially more moral high ground anymore. Especially when the United States supported the atrocity committed by Israel, which is, just absolute, crime against humanity in Gaza. And when you have the president who is so I don't know whom he worships. We know he is not Christian. He never put his hand on the Bible during the oath. This is the first. I don't know. Maybe he's Satanist. I don't know. But you have to be absolute abhorrent human being if you think that, yeah, let's kill tens of thousands innocent people, children, women, in Gaza, and then put the hotels there and casinos. These are not normal people. These are perverts. They are, I don't know, it's like level of the, basically, evil level of SS, punitive battalions or something like that. This is a Hitleresque level of the evil. That's what it is. It's Lebensraum in a smaller way for Israel. And when you look at this is just wow. But this is in the end, the symptom, if you wish, the manifestation of the complete decline, moral decay, and debasement of the combined West, including Europe. No matter what Europe does, these imbeciles will end up that Russia will have to wipe them out. Simple as that. These people do not understand the thing. It is a result of the negative selection for the last, not only 30, I would say the negative selection in the combined West started about 45, 50 years ago, especially when we have the new generation of the baby boomers, which is the most disgusting, essentially, the generation in the West, which was coming in power, and you have those, spoiled brats and wusses, who for some reason decided that they are the owners of the world. And we have the result today. Trump is actually the product of that too, but he is a swamp. But then we have to look attentively at what is in the Epstein files and what is, it's unbelievable. We are at the historical turning point. And the way the West exists today, it's going, and it must go, because it has to either reform itself or it has to be thrown into the dustbin of history as and again, we're talking about historical terms, not human life is too short to view this, But even this, within last, 10 years, look what happened to the world.
Andrei, when you hear Pete Hegseth firing the Secretary of the Navy, and right in the middle of this war that is happening, what does that mean to you? And is that some sort of, I would say, substantial differences that is appearing from the within the army, the navy. They don't, maybe the communication is not working between the people who are on the field and the people in the leadership.
Pete Hegseth has the mentality and level of knowledge of war, real war, that level of the NCO, fresh from, he is not officer, despite the fact that he went through the ROTC, was sent to Afghanistan. The fact that he tattooed himself and believes in his most knowledge about warfare comes not from Afghanistan. Afghanistan is not real war. It wasn't real war. It was the high intensity police operation where you get, you still get killed by IED. You might come under the small arms fire. Maybe RPG will fly your way. You call on close air support. That's about it. So now he sees the thing when you have the consistent and incessant delivery of the high-level explosives, on their bases, which essentially 13 American bases are destroyed. The guy cannot comprehend it. He doesn't understand it. As I already stated, his level of knowledge is lifted from the Scofield Bible. That's about it. And so he fires another guy who is political appointee, who was whatever, Trump's buddy or what have you, the donor class. So you can imagine what the professionals in the U.S. Navy, for example, feel. Because obviously U.S. Navy still retains, as does U.S. Army, many professional people who are really militarily educated. They went through the appropriate, steps in developing the officers. They understand operations and things of this nature, and they know what it all entails. And so this is what you have here is this apparatus games, which is indication of the panic, a complete panic which have been set already in the Trump administration. So they're going to be eating each other, simple as that. And this tattooed alcoholic who is Minister of War, who won't understand the first thing about real war, he is fighting for his life because obviously he understands now that in the end somebody will have to hold the bag with some substance, which is already did happen. It doesn't matter if they will resume it with whatever is left in the arsenals of the United States. It's a catastrophic military defeat. They can spin it whatever they want, but reality is United States cannot win militarily, period. As I was saying this non-stop for almost 2 decades, it's not the military which is configured to fight real war. It's configured to fight Iraq. I'm sorry. So, and that's about it. That, well, maybe Panama, maybe Cuba. I don't know. Venezuela, they basically Venezuelans sold their president for cash, and yeah, sure, military success. But the reality is, in purely military terms, United States is not the power it always thought it to be, not even close. And so as a result, when you begin to face a little bit of the reality, the cognitive dissonance sets in, and you begin to panic. And you already heard what a few weeks back when Trump stated that, oh yeah, it was Pete who convinced me, to go and just fight Iran. So, and Pete Hegseth, his face was, his expression was precious, So the guy understood he will be thrown under the bus. So what's happening now? Okay, United States Navy cannot conduct operations without being absolutely threatened by the anti-shipping missiles from Iran. And then we have yesterday, Navy people come up and say, yeah, under present condition, you cannot demine if there are mines in the Strait of Hormuz. But even if war happens and everything is favorable, it's a half a year to demine. So these are it's catastrophe. It's economic catastrophe for the whole Trump team. Of course, for Europeans, it's all together. It's a death sentence. Basically, that's what it is. And so, and that is why well, it's not that he is not getting any more completely this alternative universe or alternative reality. He evidently begins to sense and feel that, oh my God, we're screwed. That's why he was manipulating markets, but nobody buys it. If you look at even the futures, they can fluctuate whatever they want. But the reality is that spot price for the oil, it's so much higher. Again, Brent, for example, may go like $104. Okay, today I don't know, it was 105 or something like that. You will go and you will buy the Brent. Well, Saudi sell it with a more than $20, a markup, and so suddenly it's what spot price is 125 if you're lucky. So, and you can see the schizophrenia spreading, including through the so-called economic circles, which are nothing more than, at the best case, bunch of the MBAs who know only how to speculate. They do not understand the mechanisms, real mechanisms which drive this whole thing. And the critical thing they lack is, of course, the military political factor of that, because they are not trained, they're nincompoops, they don't understand what it is. Their level of understanding of this is from the Top Gun Maverick. That's about it. That's the level, Hollywood, essentially. And so we have the situation. It is complete decomposition of everything. For example, people in Washington, D.C. knew about the world outside. They never knew the world outside, I can tell you that. And so they are in shock and awe. They are absolutely in the, schizophrenia. And you have to admit Iranians, in terms of their making fun of it, let's put it this way, they excel so much. It's unbelievable. The whole world watches now the Legos and and all other memes which are Iranians produce, and it's unfreaking believable. I never saw anything like this. Never. It's just, I'm 63 plus years old, and this is like, my jaw is on the floor.